Hello, BookTube. Who's up for a Friday mail haul? I have a few packages here. All of them are a bit on the skinny side, which tends not to be squeal-worthy for Steve, but you never know. I have made no secret of the fact that I would prefer a mail haul that's entirely boxes, but this is not that mail haul. So let's see what we have. There still could be stuff that's of interest. Let's see what this first one is. Oh my! Oh, okay. First one comes out in mid-March, and it's a slim volume of poetry. So we'll get right on this. Great, because we don't care. We're not afraid of slim volumes of poetry on this channel anymore. I'm not. And I'm not disdainful of them either. I want to know about them. This is a hardcover. It's called The Low Passions, and it's by Anders Carlson Wee. The Low Passions. From the great folks at W.W. Norton. And what have we got here? Well, he doesn't look happy, but he certainly is handsome. Who are you when you're at home? His poems have appeared in the Virginia Quarterly Review, the Kenyon Review, Plowshares, and BuzzFeed, and many other publications. Did not know that BuzzFeed published poetry. The recipient of a fellowship from the National Endowments for the Arts and the winner of the 2017 Poetry International Prize. He lives in Minneapolis. Wow. Okay, so he's got some high-profile recognition. What the pub sheets of contemporary poetry volumes are virtually useless. But let's give this a try. Let's see what they have to say. This book introduces us to a major new talent. Oh wow! So this is his debut collection of poetry. Oh, good for him! In a hardcover from Norton. That's not a bad debut. With an assured, perceptive hand that belies a debut collection, award-winning poet Anders Carlson Wee arrives on the scene to trace the haunting ties of family and country through the eyes of a young drifter. Rooted in North Dakota and across the Midwest, The Low Passions tells the stories of the Great Plains in all its warmth and despair. The wind is in the trees again, writes Carlson Wee in the Great Plains Food Bank, and I'm thinking it's a wonder. The body can move, the way the mother at the Fargo Food Bank fingers a can of concentrated juice, the way the line keeps heaving forward. Okay. All right, so who is the young drifter? Is this actually going to be a narrative poem? Or a narrative series of poems? Oh, that sound in the background. Frida was occupied, but she has just discovered that there is mail. So now she is on the case. She got a little distracted by something else, but there's nothing that she likes more than the mail. Well, let's give a try here. Are these very long? Can we sample one of these? Okay, they are a bit on the long side. One is called Checking for Ticks. This could be a dog person on our hands here. Let's try a short one. This is called News. Whoever you are, they take care of you. Dean leans over and labors the crank window, asking where you need to go. Lillian shows how to clean and reload. Tucker, the Lees. Savannah shrunk by cancer. Lyle by diet, ordering you what he can't eat. Hands that pass the double cheese and hands that steer the wheel, a foot floored towards Tennessee, our necks keeping Hendrix's beat. Each morning, another warning about the darkness out there. Triple murder, no suspects. Alien abductions in the Palouse. A family gone missing. A family found, their organs removed. Each day, against all this breaking news, another stranger saving you. Okay, I kind of like that. And there's something interesting going on there in the middle in terms of the rhythm and the rhyme of the thing. I kind of like that. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. One poem does not a collection make, so it doesn't matter if I like it or not. I'm going to study this thing. And I didn't get an advance copy of this, I don't think. So, fantastic. Good for him. A debut poetry collection. So, The Low Passions comes out in the middle of next month. Oh, my God. This weekend, I have to grapple with my books. I coast on autopilot for most of the month, but at the changing of the month or thereabouts, I have to grapple with them again. And it's fun. It's so much fun. But it's also a nightmare. It's the only time that I wish I had the technical ability to do one of those speed-up, edited montage type things so that I could take you through that process. But I don't have that technical ability. And I know perfectly well that if I tried to gain that technical ability, it would frustrate me so much that I would stop doing this. And I don't, that's a red line. I don't want to stop. I don't want to take on anything that will prompt me to not want to do this. the reason I do it now is because it's easy. If it stopped being easy, I know there's a terrible slacker attitude, but if it stopped being easy, I know that I would stop doing it. I don't have that attitude with most other things. Most other things, I welcome complexity and difficulty and a learning curve, like, for instance, my little garden. It's hard not to think about my little garden when the temperature starts to warm up a little bit, when the days start to get longer. It's hard not to think about it. And I'm perfectly willing to fail over and over again at that until I get the feel for it. I wish that I had been cultivating that little 3-foot by 3-foot patch of ground for 15 years. So I imagine how much I would know by now. But when it comes to technology, something in it there is not wired right, because so anyway, but I'm going to deal with that this weekend, and it's going to be grotesque. The way I do it is, once I hit the point where there's only a week left in the month, then there's absolutely no point in having a current month of books that has 50 books on it, right? There's no point in that at all. So what I do is I go through those 50 books and I say, okay, if the world were ending, if the house were on fire, which ones do you absolutely want to make sure you review before the month changes? I pick those off and then just move the rest so that that shelf is empty, and then I move up the new books. In this case, it'll be March, and March is a bonanza of books. And this is one of them. So, ready for more, Bean? Oh, get on your hind legs, little girl. Oh. She's willing to chew, but she's not willing to jump. Maybe that'll change. So what have we got here? Oh, we do Europa Press. Fantastic. The folks at Europa Press are so nice. And their books are often very, very interesting. Okay, this one's late getting to me. This is from mid-February, and it's called, it's by Felicity Castagna, and it's called No More Boats. This is the finished copy. Europa Press does these really nice finished copy paperbacks that won't break the bank, and that are often very interesting. They're often slices of literature from other parts of the world, outside your comfort zone, if you're a set in your ways American reader. And often very high. They place a high premium on entertainment. These are often highly entertaining books in very different ways. So what have we got here? Who is Felicity Castagna when she's at home? She won the 2014 Prime Minister's Literary Award for Young Adult Fiction for her previous novel, The Incredible Here and Now. Prime Minister's fiction is Australia. Yes? Which was adapted to the stage by the National Theatre of Parramatta. Her collection of short stories, Small Indiscretions, was named an Australian Book Review Book of the Year. Her work has also appeared on national radio and television, and she lives in Sydney. I have never been in the Australian Book Review. And this is set in Sydney's working-class suburbs. And the book tells the story of a family whose unraveling lives collide with a refugee crisis known as the Tampa Affair, where over 400 refugees were left stranded 15 miles off the Australian coast. The story revolves around Antonio, an Italian immigrant, his wife Rose, with a rich backstory of her own, and their 2 children. Manipulated by the media and made vulnerable by his feeling of irrelevance, Antonio commits an act that makes him a lightning rod for the factions that are bitterly at odds over the Tampa Affair. So is the Tampa Affair real? Is that something that really happened, that immigrants were left drifting off the coast of Australia? I'll have to look into it and see. This comes out in mid-February, so I will probably read but not review. Except if I get my act together on Goodreads, I could leave thoughts on Goodreads. I should do that. I should get my act together on Goodreads, whether I leave thoughts on this book or not. About a million other books. Chris and Giselle were talking to me about this when we were hanging out last weekend. They were saying, and they're right. They're absolutely right that a million people look at Goodreads. And that's where the readers are. I know this already. I might have my quibbles with some of the rules or behaviors of the site. Certainly the behavior of the YA crowd on Goodreads is an open disgrace. They all ought to be banned from the site. But in general, no, in general, that's where a lot of my very short point reactions to books should be. I will get to it. 2019 will be the year when I embrace Goodreads. Okay, so what have we got here? This looks like a finished paperback. Comes out in mid-March. It is by Tanguy Veal, and it's called Article 353. Kind of an attractive cover design there. It's a trade paperback for $16. And Tanguy Veal was born in Brest in 1973. It's right around the time I got this shirt. He is the author of several novels, which have won prizes, and this one, Article 353, is his most recent novel. He lives in Orléans. Huh. Okay, so this won a couple of major awards, this book. And it looks like they are going to introduce it. They are going to publish it in paperback. Equal parts courtroom drama and psychological thriller. This book employs subtle, enthralling prose to raise questions about the pursuit of justice within the confines of the law. In a depressed town on France's north coast, a man named Marshal Kermure has been arrested for the murder of a real estate developer, Antoine Lazenek, after throwing him overboard. Kermure has long led an upstanding life, raising his son as a single father and humbly working as a groundskeeper after he's laid off from the shipyard. Running counter to his signature ethically driven and measured demeanor, he finds himself swept up in the glittering promises of Lazenek, who entices him into investing the entirety of his savings. Called before a judge, Kermure goes back to the beginning to explain what brought him to this desperate point. His divorce, his son's acting out, layoffs at his job, and above all, Lazenek's dazzling project for a seaside resort. His story, told in retrospect, takes on an eerie, prophetic tenor, acting as a parable shedding light on the timeless undercurrents of societal ills that still resound in today's climate of financial and judicial turmoil. Okay, fine. None of that means anything if you throw somebody overboard. Okay? It's none of that. If we learn nothing else from the movie Repo Man, we learn that that doesn't mean anything at all if you still killed somebody. But still, that sounds like it's going to pack a lot into a small book. I wonder if that's this author's signature. I guess I'll find out. I don't know anything about him. This is one of those terra incognita mail hauls again. All right, so let's move on here. We've got a couple more to do. Very international flavor. Let's see what's next here. Okay, don't recognize this either. Okay, this is from Farrar, Straus and Giroux. And it comes out in June. Wow, it's not a March book. Okay. And this is by Jade Coffin, and it's called Rough House Friday. Rough House Friday. Moody and atmospheric, this book is an exciting and beautifully crafted memoir about fathers and sons, the vagaries of racial identity and toxic masculinity, and how the past can haunt us unless we confront it. And it is Jade Coffin's second memoir. The first one was A Chant to Soothe Wild Elephants. While lifting weights in the Selden Jackson College gymnasium on a rainy autumn night, Jade Coffin heard the distinctive whacking sound of sparring boxers down the hall. A year out of college, he had been biding his time as a tutor at a local high school in Sitka, Alaska, without any particular life plan. That evening, Coffin joined a ragtag boxing club, the first time he felt like he fit in. He'd washed up in Alaska after a 40-day-long solo kayaking journey. Born to an American father and a Thai mother who met during the Vietnam War, he never felt particularly comfortable growing up in his rural Vermont town. Following his parents' prickly divorce and a childhood spent drifting between his father's new white family and his mother's Thai roots, Coffin didn't know who he was, much less what his life path should be. His father's notion about what it means to be a man, formed by King Arthur legends and calcified in the military, did nothing to help. After college, he took to the road, working odd jobs, sleeping in his car before heading north. Okay. All right, and the author teaches at the University of New Hampshire's MFA program and lives in Brunswick, Maine. Okay. All right, well, this comes out in June. I'm not going to hold the pub sheet against it, although I got to tell you, if I live to be 29, I will have and never hear the term toxic masculinity again. It will be too soon. I have come to view it as easy shorthand to tell whether or not the speaker is toxic. not the subject they're talking about, but the person who's using that term. I've come to think of that as just an easy shorthand. If you are dumb enough to use that term, then you are probably dumb enough to be vicious. So I'm not going to hold that against the book. The book could be about masculinity and also maybe jerks. Jerks come in all shapes and sizes, in all ages, in all races, and in all genders. and I think jerks are what is meant by when sane people use terms like toxic masculinity, although they shouldn't use it because it is tainted. But anyway, I'll find out. We'll see what the book has to say. So that brings us to this last one. Is this also going to be a Terra Incognita book? These things just let's see what we have here. This is also for our Strauss and Giroux. Okay, this this is a novel. Okay, it's a novel. It's got a page of raves from booksellers around the country. That's interesting. And it is by Jake Wolfe. It's called The History of Living Forever by Jake Wolfe, who was born and raised in Maine. He received an MFA from the University of Wisconsin-Madison and a PhD in creative writing from Florida State University. Okay, is there a great taxonomic difference between an MFA and a PhD in creative writing? Is there an enormous difference between those two? Or did this guy just go out and get two differently named MFAs? I can't imagine what the difference would be. But anyway, he's loaded for bear when it comes for academic credentials about his writing. That can be a weakness as much as a strength, but we shall see. His stories and essays have appeared in journals such as Tin House, One Story, and American Short Fiction. And he lives in Orlando and is an assistant professor of English at the University of Central Florida. And I'm not seeing there any mention of a previous novel. This could be a debut. In the midst of an unexpected health scare, the young writer Jake Wolfe once discovered that in some dark corners of the internet, the age-old pursuit of an elixir of life is alive and well in the 21st century. Oh, please. Pull the other one. It's got bells on it. You did not need to be sequestered by a health scare to waste time on the internet. It's what your generation does best. So please, spare me. Anyone who has ever typed their symptoms into a search engine knows how easy it is to fall down some very strange click holes. An inclined online shopper could purchase, say, an elixir made from the blood of reindeer antlers shipped through Canadian customs in a package marked children's toy, or a concoction of colloidal ocean minerals from Australia wrapped in tinfoil, a drink made with actual gold, a longevity-enhancing solution made from snail mucus. As a matter of fact, years after his discovery, Wolfe did purchase these, along with a few others, and drank them all. Again, you did not purchase them years after you found them online. You purchased them immediately after finding them online. What kind of a narrative is being spun here? Notice those two, the first paragraph of this pub sheet, there are two openly fraudulent details. One is that he needed a health scare to waste time on clickholes online, and since that obviously isn't true, the talk about the health scare is designed to cover. It's designed to lend legitimacy to the fact that he would know anything about these dark corners of the internet. And the second detail, that he waited years, and then think, years ago when I saw all those weird concoctions online, now I'm thinking about it, I probably want to order some of those things. No, they were done as soon as he found them. Now, why would that be there? Obviously to add a patina of reflection to the whole thing. But why are we hearing about any of this about a novel? Why this is something that the author should mention at the 92nd Street Y in the opening anecdote of a talk. It shouldn't. Well, anyway, let's go on here. I mention this not because it's a good idea to drink strange liquids purchased online, but because I think it says something about the restless imagination and adventurousness of this writer, whom some of you may have encountered in the pages of the aforementioned journals. This is his first novel. Okay, great. Good for him. FSG, first novel in June. It's a sort of adventure novel for adults. At its heart is an engrossing mystery. Why did Conrad Eibinder's high school chemistry teacher and lover, Sammy Tampari, die suddenly, leaving his star student a stack full of journals chronicling a lifelong search for the treatment that would prolong life indefinitely? How did Sammy, who himself grew up a brilliant but deeply troubled chemistry prodigy, come to be obsessed with such a fantastical pursuit? And when Conrad discovers he is not the only person looking deeper into Sammy's death, another question emerges. Was Sammy's sudden passing an accident? of self-experimentation or something more sinister? The answers will introduce Conrad to secret societies, mystery benefactors, secretive life extension research laboratories, alchemists, alternative therapy hucksters. All of the previous things were also alternative therapy hucksters, but that's okay. And scientific inquiries of an array of historical figures from ancient Chinese physicians to 16th century German monks. Okay, all right, that's all right. I'm hooked, absolutely. So this is all about, I mean, it's going to be this author's enormous time-wasting, tail-chasing, rabbit hole diving, wonkish research into immortality, into physical immortality. Not just, it sounds like, not just the long folklore in human history of that, but also what it means in the human body. Why do cells age? Why do they deteriorate? What are the actual medical thoughts about how to extend longevity? I think that would be fascinating. This is, of course, holding it up, you can't help but notice the requisite hideous American cover. There's nothing we can do about that, except order it on Book Depository for its inevitably better-looking UK cover. So the question isn't going to be... I am sure that this author would be interesting on that subject. I am sure that if I look online, maybe one of the articles in one of those journals was about immortality and the elixir of life and stuff like that. And his search online, that story would be fascinating on its own. So the question here will be the question of any debut novel. It will be, what about the novel part? Is this a good novel? Is it an interesting, affecting novel? And I will find out. I will definitely read it. I am hooked already. And I gotta admit, I know it's a little bit prejudiced on my part, but I love novels that come festooned with recommendations from booksellers. I like that a lot. That helps a lot to sell it to me, because they're right in the trenches, you know. And their bookstores are still, even now, where they don't give benefits, they don't give a health plan, they crush unions, they give partial hours and then fire you for having only partial hours, and a million other things. The bookstores are not a place where you can go to work anymore. It's an obvious starter, time-wasting job while you go somewhere else. It's no different than, you know, any other flipping burgers or something like that, where it used to be different. It used to be that you could get a job at a bookstore and the bookstore would take care of you. They wouldn't make you rich, but they wouldn't shower you with contempt every day. And now that's not true. But even so, even though that is true, bookstores are still where a lot of bookish true believers go. You can find a lot of them there. So the fact that there's one recommendation after another from booksellers is terrific. But one way or another, it's only this bookseller you need to worry about. So, all right, so there we go. What a weird mail. All right, so we have a fiction debut, The History of Living Forever. We have a memoir about fathers and sons, about boxing, and about toxic masculinity. We have Article 353. This is, I think, our most credentialed writer this time around. It sounds like he's written lots of things and gotten lots of prizes for them. And it sounds like it's a bit of a murder mystery. Maybe just a bit of a murder mystery. If that's true, upon further examination, I will postpone it until March, because March is March Mystery Madness. when I'm going to saturate the month with murder mysteries. So I might do that. You never know. It took a large leap for a routine-driven Rain Man type character such as myself to do that change. And I received no pats on the back for it. But nevertheless, I am going to do that. I am postponing lots of February murder mysteries until March. I'm just going to let them pile up. I'm just going to read a ton of murder mysteries in March. That's going to be a lot of fun. Then we have No More Boats by Felicity Castagna. This is the latest from Europa editions. And a poetry debut, The Low Passions, by Anders Carlson Wee. So, my instincts were correct. No Steve books, but still, lots of interesting stuff here. That's fantastic. And also, I don't want to harp on this, but this is one afternoon's reading for me. So this does not represent a huge burden. So that's wonderful. That was a nice, interesting mail haul. I will dig into a few of these things, and who knows, there may be another mail delivery today. You never know. This was UPS. So that leaves FedEx and DHL, and also later today, probably after the sun goes down, my Ninja mail truck driver. I'm gonna be poised and waiting. In fact, as the weather gets warmer, I may wait on the porch. He keeps sneaking in and out. when I could swear I'm keeping an eye out for him. And he may deliver today. You never know. If he does, you will be the first to know. But in the meantime, I'll wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.